Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. A Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela is about the struggle of freedom of South Africa. May 10th, 1994 was a day when Mandela was about to vow as the first black president. Many dignitaries from various countries had come to the part of the day. He says, a brave man is not who does not feel afraid, but that who conquers it. As Mandela became an adult, he understood that his freedom was only an illusion in the fact he was slave of exploitation. Freedom is also mandatory for who suppressed others in the past. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on the South African soil. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union Buildings of Pretoria. For decades, this had been the seat of white of supremacy, and now it was a site of rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. On that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Jenani. On the podium, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president, then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as the first deputy president. Amphitheatre is a building without roof, and supremacy, the state of being superior. Podium, a continuous platform round a building. In this extract from his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom, Mandela speaks about a historic occasion, the inauguration. Can you guess what the occasion might be? 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. Besieged by is to be surrounded closely by, and dignitaries a person holding a high rank or office. Inauguration, the act of inaugurating. Shum. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the Constitution and to devote myself to well-being of the Republic and its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said, today all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be we who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be the host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. Confer is to give possession, holding of property, and emancipation, freedom from restriction. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Never, 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 and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom reign. God bless Africa. A few months later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Deprivation is state of not having one's rightful benefits, spectacular array, and impressive display, precision, accuracy. Only moments before, the highest generals of South African Defence Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Nkosi Sikkela, I Africa, and black singing Die Stem, the old anthem of the Republic. Bedecked is to adorn, not unmindful of, conscious of, chevron, a pattern in the shape of V. On the day of inauguration, I was overwhelmed with the sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War, and before my own birth, the white-skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial discrimination against the dark-skinned people of their own land. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedom of all the peoples, regardless of the color of their skin. Overwhelmed means agitated, erected means upright. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people, people whose sufferings and courage can never be counted or repaid. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the son of some of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them, and that they were not able to thank them, and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. Wrought means done, achieved. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sislous, the Chief Luthulis, and Yusuf Dados, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Sobuks of our time, the men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depths of operation to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and germs that lie beneath its soil, gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. Brutality is cruelty, rudeness, unintended, not planned or meant. Generosity is liberality. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers the fear. No one is born hating another person because of the color of the skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes from naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Even in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. In life, every man has twin obligations to his family, to his parents, and to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. Glimmer is faint or dim light, obligations, binding power. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclination and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of these obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. Inclination is natural tendency of behavior, inevitably, unavoidably. Twilight, the faint light before sunrise or sunset. Secrecy is concealment. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clean stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars, and to ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls. Mealies is a kind of maize. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by my customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. Illusion is something that appears to be real but is not. Yearn to have an earnest desire, potential capable of existing, obstructed to block up. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That's when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greatest hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. Curtail is to reduced, law abiding, permanent law attorney, one who is appointed to act for another. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of them were the chains on me. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Virtuous is blameless. Thank you for reading the lesson along with me.